You are listening to the Red Pill Chronicles, where we help awakening souls deal with the blue pill world. I'm your host, John Dennison, and together we'll explore how to take an inner approach to your outer affairs so you can build a better life and a better world to live it in. Hello, my friend. This is John Dennison here with another episode of Red Pill Chronicles. And today, we're going to try to take a look at what your life is all about. I'm not going to be able to tell you, but maybe you'll have a better idea of it once we're done. This is a really, it's simultaneously complex and simple. Complex from a standpoint that I'm sitting here trying to tell you about I got to tell you about a lot of different things to look for, and you may not have any clue as to what those things are that I'm talking with you about. Or at least at the moment that I'm saying it, you're going to have to go back and think about some of these issues. But we're going to dive in to why you may be here. Now, you know, I don't usually speak from a position of absolutes in terms of what your life is about or what you should be here doing or any of those kind of things. Rather, I see it as a matter of consciousness that you're here to develop yourself and your ability to relate to others and to walk your talk. The ability to love yourself and love others with equal gusto. And your ability to bring forth your creative contributions to the world. Because as an awakening soul, odds are good you have made the choice at some point that you're going to be in service to others. And that has to manifest in some way. That you're not just there doing things to manipulate and take advantage of others for your own benefit, but that you are working in conjunction with a sense that you have a responsibility to them that you are trying to create, that you are doing things for them that may benefit only them or it may benefit you. And that is certainly depending upon the nature of how you're structuring your life and what you're doing. So again, we're going to be taking this from a perspective that you are here on the path of service to others, at least at this point in your journey. And if you are not, perhaps you'll listen along to see if maybe it might be in store for you somewhere down the road. You know, I've talked a lot about that continuum between serving others and serving yourself and how we are usually at some point in that process along the way. And what we want to try to do is get you to where you're at least 50-50 if you've made the choice for service of others. But that's totally up to you. I don't care who you're serving, and if you're serving yourself, that's okay too, because that also serves the whole. You're going back to the same place those who are serving others are. So the question really is, what's the path you've selected for yourself to get there? But now, looking at your life, it may give you a little hint as to which path you're on. Whether your thoughts are predominantly to serve yourself, to serve others, to deal with problems. I mean, where do you focus your attention? What is it that makes you tick? Where is your concentration? And where do you lose your concentration? These are all things that I want you to get to know about yourself. But ultimately, it all falls into a package that, when taken as a whole, will tend to give some indications of what your life is about. And from knowing that, or at least getting a glimpse of that, will help you to deal with whatever else is coming down the road, such as all the stuff that's going on in our world right now that's trying to rile us all up and drag us into this escalating battle between left and right. So where should we start? Well, let's start with life purpose. I've said a lot of things about life purpose over the years, and we have this romantic concept that our life should be about some sort of a great contribution or a great event. And in fact, it may be. But generally speaking, most of us find ourselves more in the mundane day-to-day life of trying to create our own lives and deal with the other people in them and have as little repercussions from the outer world of issues of governance and social and societal affairs as possible, at least to the extent that we can work within those areas to do what we're trying to do for ourselves. So I guess the first place to start is, where is your attention? What is it that is controlling where you are focusing in any particular moment? And the reason I'm asking you to be aware of where you're looking and what you're facing is that that's going to give you a good idea of what this moment is intended to bring. Now, purpose that we talked about before is an overarching concept that encompasses not only this moment, but the moments of your life. Some people believe that there is a singular purpose to life. Others believe that it is a series of purposes that unfold to guide us throughout different stages of our lives. But if we stop and go back to the underlying reason that we're here, we as a species are supposedly here for, is to know ourselves and grow ourselves so that we can make our journeys back to God. And in the process of doing that, we have to learn to love and be loved. And until we can do that and get ourselves out of the way so that that love can flow, other circumstances are created for us to see these things in us that stop that process. So I would posit the theory to you that the purpose of your life is simply for you to know yourself within separation. Yet, within that separation, to find the common bonds that pull you back to the source from which you came and to work your way there. That manifests in many different ways, generally by creating catalysts and other experiences by which we can grow. These catalysts we often see as tests and lessons, but they play out in the course of our daily lives as the situations that happen automatically, just by interacting with people and going through what we do. Now, when you're in the process of living, your focus is going to either be outward facing toward that world around you that I call the outer world, the three-dimensional world of people, of earth, of the sky, of everything you see and can touch. And of course, the parts of you that are focused upon it, your mind and emotions that are associated with, we'll also consider as part of your outer world, but they are really more of a bridge between your inner and outer. And then there's inward-facing attention, which is where you're looking at the things that are happening in you and the motivations and the responses. And more importantly, exploring your connection to God and trying to grow closer to the presence within you. So the first thing that you're going to look at is, where are you facing in terms of trying to determine your life purpose and what you're really here for. And when I say life purpose, I'm referring now to the specific objectives that you may seem to have to live this life. There are lots of different ways we can do this, and to be honest with you, there is not really a simple way of breaking this down for you. The first thing is to take stock of yourself. Who are you? How have you created yourself? Look at your personality. Look at the attributes you have. Look at the character that you wear on your sleeve for others to see, or that you don't, and you keep hidden inside, afraid to let them see, for whatever reason. When you start to take stock of who you are and what your life is about, things have a tendency to shift because you're no longer wrapped up solely in the events of the outer experience of life in this world, but you're now focused upon the inner processes of dealing with those energies, and what to do with them, and how you're going to use them to both move through those events and situations, but also to change yourself to better deal with them or in response to them. And that's really what we're looking for here, is for you to begin to become aware of what you are all about. But the important thing for you to do is to begin to say to yourself that you have an active role in making things the way that they are. You are in the process of creating your life at the same time you're experiencing it. And your life is not always consciously created by us. We sometimes find ourselves like leaves blowing about before a hurricane, that there's absolutely no ability for us to influence or control how things play out, and we just have to respond to them. Other things happen because we have to make conscious choices, or sometimes unconscious choices, on what we'll do or think or say or how we'll relate to others or to a particular situation. But in taking stock of yourself, it's important to know who you are. And I don't mean knowing who you are and saying, well, I'm a spirit that has come to earth for an earthly experience. I don't care about that baloney. That doesn't mean anything. It doesn't tell you anything. But to sit here and say that you are just another person going through life by reflex with no conscious activity and that you're not putting anything into it is really not the approach that you want to take to get something back from your life. But in terms of finding your way, it's good to understand where you are and how you got to where you are, because you have created yourself a particular way. You've come into a family or not that has provided you with a set of experiences. Sometimes those are nurturing and supportive, and other times they're critical and tear you down or drive you away. And that's all part of the experiences that you came to get. So your purpose is going to relate to what those experiences are bringing you, or what you're going to do with those experiences. So what have you done with the experiences in the past? How have you met the challenges that have arisen in your life? See, these are the kind of things that you really want to look at with yourself and understand, because that will give you some element of consciousness, some element of choice on how to deal with what's coming down the road. We hear a lot of spiritual teachers talking about dealing with the shadow. You know, those aspects of yourself that are hidden from view, maybe that you don't recognize or that you don't let out, or that just escape from time to time because they just erupt because of one trigger or another. These are all things that you're going to have to learn about yourself. But in terms of understanding what your life is all about, you first start by taking stock of where you are and why you've been created the way that you are. And you look at the different factors that have come about to influence how you are. So, and then you say, well, what do these have to do with the life I'm living now, or the life I'm trying to live now? It's not a process that you can just sit down and say, oh, I got it. And you have this epiphany and you know what your life's all about and you move on. No, it's like you go to a certain place, you get a perspective of what it's like. And then you go through the experiences that come from that perspective and you test them against where you're at in life and decide, well, is this serving me and is it not serving me? And it's a continual process of change. That you are a change maker, changing yourself into what you need to be to continue that spiritual journey. If it's to go back to heaven, then you're in the process of learning how to love others as you love yourself. But within your life, there have been situations that stick in your mind that I would like you to start to become aware of as you are going through your process of self-evaluation. And again, self-evaluation is not a fun thing to do because typically it happens when something unpleasant occurs in our lives. We don't sit here and look at ourselves because things are hunky-dory. Most of the time we look at ourselves because things aren't working out so well. We've got a bad situation and it's triggering us. It's tearing us apart. It's making our lives less than we want them to be. So we have to look into the shadows to find out what it is within us that is contributing to those situations. Now, within those unknown parts of your life, let's suggest that there is an invisible hand which is steering how your reality unfolds. An invisible hand that goes beyond your consciousness, that goes beyond your intention, but that is serving up these events, these catalysts, by which you can see yourself and know yourself. Remember, we're all aspects of God. We're all here with that energy, and why would God separate itself into all these trillions, billions, and trillions of parts to go out and experience reality? The only thing I could see is that God would do this so it can know itself. Can know and know possibilities and ways that it could unfold in other ways should it choose. And so it's a continual process of creating and expanding that creation to learn more and more and more things about itself, just like we are going through life learning more and more things about ourselves. Well, one of the main things that I want you to focus upon or look for are what I call watershed events. These are those major events in your lifetime that typically came with some sort of realization or awareness of some lesson or some challenge or struggle that you had to work through to get to a result. That they are created not so much to harm you, but to give you perspective on how you're going to continue on your life from there. I'll give you an example. Back when I was in junior high, what would that be? 8th and 9th grade, for those of you who don't know what junior high is, since they've gotten rid of it, called it middle school in some places, and merged it into high school in others. But back in my junior high, in my 8th grade, I was given the opportunity to take on certain jobs or projects throughout the school and to help out with different things. Not for any reward or anything else, it was just to help. Yes, we took care of the signs out in front of the school for the events that were occurring, and that was in the days that you actually had to put up separate metal letters and hang them on the sideboard. And we would do things to facilitate the work of the teachers. Like you want to call them professors, but they weren't professors in those days. They were teachers. To help them out in various ways or various things that they had going on. Anyway, little did I know, at the end of the year, they gave us all a card and said, "Okay, now go around to all your teachers and get points assigned for the different things that you had been involved in. And lo and behold, when I got done, I seemed to do pretty good and had a lot of service points that looked pretty good to me, but it wasn't anything that I was bragging about. It was just, hey, this showed me a picture that I had contributed to my school and to my environment throughout my year. Well, as it turned out, those point totals that we were given or told to find out were calculated and tabulated and used to create some sort of an award, a service award that I won because I had more activities involved than other people. Now, whether my activities were of any more value than others, I won't say that. Maybe some of the teachers, there we go again. Some of the teachers thought more highly of what I was doing than they did of some of the other tasks. But service of any kind is what matters. It's not the amount of service. It's not my job is better than your job or any of that stuff. It's just doing from your heart and giving to others because you feel like giving. Sort of like why I'm talking to you here today. Because I feel like giving you more perspective on your life. Well, that award that I got, that service award, was repeated the next year. But it wasn't the same to me. Because now I was going about doing a lot of the same activities and taking on even more, but not with an eye toward helping, but more to an eye toward those points that they were going to assign at the end of the year. Knowing that I was in a competition with a friend of mine who was also very highly active in serving the school. Drew, if you're out there, love you, man. Hope you're doing well. And Drew and I had gone to school. We had gone through elementary school together and junior high at that point. And we were always in competition. He was smarter than me. And it was always an effort between us to see who could do better at any particular task that we were doing. And he forced me to work hard. Well, anyway, that next year I won it again. But because I had done a lot of those jobs to get something for myself, it didn't feel right. And this situation is what I later came to see as a watershed event that controlled a large portion of how my life unfolded. Because when push came to shove, or I should say, when giving came to giving in the future, throughout my life, when I would give from a standpoint of trying to get for myself, it always felt like some part of me was not being served, that I was denying to myself the benefit of the goodwill that and the good feelings for yourself that you get when you help other people. And I guess that kind of shaped a lot of how I've gone forward in trying to bring forth this message for the last 20 years, because most of my work has been in giving without expectation of return, and certainly most of you have never given me anything in return for what you have received. I can't say that that's the right course or the wrong course. That just happens to be the course that my life has been on, at least for this period of time. Reinforced different things by different people along the way, such as the Dalai Lama, when he said that the Dharma is free, but the Sangha we charge for. Sangha being the community, when they come together for the learning and teaching and the seminars that he was giving. But the Dharma, the underlying philosophy, the underlying teachings were all given by him for free. That there wasn't the knowledge, but helping people apply it and to their own circumstances. That's where you had to charge, where you had to give them more than just the understanding of the general principle, but then you had to help them apply it, help them see how it worked in their lives. Well, this is what I want you to see in your life, looking for those watershed events. Now, that event, well, it stuck in my head at the time. It didn't come out and crop up until much later in my life. Back when I was practicing law and I was getting really involved in the community affairs, and I was president of my local business association. I raised money for charities like the Cancer Society and leukemia, and got involved in a whole lot of different things. I was on a couple of boards for schools, and it was always about giving. Yet, when I was in a situation where I was given the opportunity to do so in a way that would promote me, I was always uncomfortable. Again, that watershed event was creating a perspective in me on how to see those situations that were arising. And I can see a half a dozen or so of those watershed situations that just sit back to certain events, certain activities. I had another one where I had been upset with basically not getting to start in football, and didn't see any hope that I was even going to get a play. It was a new coach, a new system, and I quit. And he came to me and said, "You're going to be a quitter your whole life?" Now, needless to say, I didn't go back to football. I kept with my decision, but I haven't quit anything since that time. That was one of those watershed events that said, hey, it set the course of my mind. It put my mind in a certain position where I made a decision to and continue to follow through on that intention in future situations. So that instead of looking for the easy way out, I kept trying to search to find a way. And that perseverance helps in projects, but sometimes it can drive you nuts when you keep. That creates a level of failure creates a level of frustration within us that is often hard to overcome. So my situation is not so much important as it is for you to understand this concept of looking back at your life to try to see things within your life that give you a clue as to what you're about. So mine is to take these two situations. It has to do with my relationship to life, to the world around me, to the people, and to my activities within it. That living just strictly for myself or even just for my family became where it wasn't enough anymore, because that voice inside me was saying, there's more. You have more to give. You have more that you can express to help others. And so that my attention went beyond just my family's needs, went beyond my clients, and started taking me out to say, well, what impact can I have in the affairs of this outer world around me? In fact, that was the intention that was given to me by the masters when I had, or at least led to belief by the masters when all this started about 20 years ago, was that it was to have resulted in some how would you say, to be some sort of a teacher, world teacher, I guess the term would be. I was in the process of setting up lots of travel and arrangements where I was going to be on the road a long time, and to try to go out and spread the message and build the energy so that the message could take hold. But circumstances came up along the way where I had to choose between that path and serving the people that I loved most, notably my family, that I discovered that I couldn't go off and run out and go help the world and still be there for them. And I had a long conversation with a friend of mine's in Colorado, back probably around 2003, 2004, about that very topic. Jean Marie, if you're out there, greetings. I wish you well. Thank you for your help in helping me see this about myself. But she made me understand, or she raised a number of questions that made me question my dedication and the choice to take forward this message when it meant sacrificing parts of my relationship with my family. And it wasn't a sacrifice that I was willing to make. When push came to shove, I chose my family over the world. So when you serve, when you are doing things for other people, it's good to be clear on who it is you're serving and why. Because sometimes we can get caught up in situations that just kind of sweep us along when we really didn't ever intend to go where they're taking us. It's just a little choice. You take one step in that direction, and then the waters and the energies sweep you away. So, watershed events are important. Really important. But they're not always easy to pick up. Sometimes you have to go through a long process of examining your life now, examining the challenges that you have, and examining the patterns that keep coming back. This issue of patterns is really important because in knowing yourself, energy, as I've told you before, comes in waves. Well, those waves are not necessarily linear. A lot of them are circular, and they just keep coming back again and again and again. And this is the nature of karma. We put energy in motion. Brings a situation to us to experience and deal with, and then we meet those energies in the same way. And then it echoes and goes out into the universe and comes back around in another situation. Maybe it's a different situation, but the same issues, the same choices, the same things to see within ourselves. And the test of karma is, didn't get enough the first time, you want to try it again. Well, are you going to do the same thing you did the first time around, or are you going to try it a different way? I mean, that is really what we have to do when life hits us in these situations, is we have to decide how we're going to deal with them. Humans that we are, we get stuck in our patterns. And it's kind of like we get in a rut, and we can't get out of it. And those ruts influence our ability to interact with the world around us. My dad, he didn't remember this in his later years, but when he was younger and he was doing Amway for a while, back when Amway was really just getting started. Anybody remember SA8 out there? I had a basement room full of it and other Amway products for a long time. Anyway, my dad was doing his Amway presentation, built his downline, I think they called it. And he talked about getting in a rut. And he said, the only difference between a rut and a grave is the dirt they throw in your face. He didn't even remember saying it, but that has stuck. And I was not even in the meeting. I was just in another room listening. And it has stuck with me to this day. That when you find yourself in the same situation over and over again, doing the same old thing, maybe you should look at why. Why are you doing the same thing? Why are you making the same type of choices in response to the same kind of energies? And those situations that bring those about are not necessarily the ones that are the watershed events. These are what we'll call the normal life lessons, tests and lessons that life brings, that are actually catalysts presented for you to have to evolve, to have to challenge yourself to see things and act in different ways, or not. And if you keep meeting the same problems in the same kind of ways, guess what's going to happen? Don't expect it to change. But you're not going to really know how to change unless you understand why you were the way you were when dealing with it the first time. So that brings you into life lessons, the catalysts. Like, what are these lessons being presented for? Because these lessons are helping to create the experience of your life And if you start looking at the pattern of your life lessons, you might even begin to understand a little bit about you and how you are choosing to meet the experience of life in this moment that you've created yourself. Because you could have created yourself some totally different way. You could have come in from a different part of the world with a whole different mindset, a whole different body, a different family, a different set of beliefs and characteristics. But you chose to be where you are, the way you are. That is the purpose of your life, to get the experiences that it's bringing you and to use them to make your way home. So now we're layering on to purpose. So it's not just about making our way home, but it's how to use the experiences of life to get home. And that takes a nimbleness of perspective, because if you're stuck in that rut of seeing it only one way, you're pretty much locked into those ways or those normal. So if what your situation is bringing you, the struggles of your life, and you say, well, how am I? And if you have the same struggles over and over again, then you start looking at the causal factors behind it, you'll start to see that the same things that caused it before are the same things that are causing it again. Well, now you know a little bit more about yourself. So the question is, what are you going to do about it? See, knowledge expands consciousness. That's what light does. When we see more possibilities, we have more choices. It doesn't necessarily make us any wiser in the making of those choices. We are however we are at the moment, and we have to do the best we can. But in the moments where you have the opportunity to have perspective, perhaps after the event, while you're reassessing what's going on and what went wrong, you can begin to look at what is the life lesson here, and why is that lesson important to me at this stage? And you start looking at these different clues that are put around, are seated around your life, and from there you can begin to infer what it is that you're trying to work on here, what your life is about. Now, if you understand what your life is about and what the energies and issues are that you have been facing, now you look at the situation that you have before you, or the one that's coming tomorrow, or the day after, and it's going to look different, because you're now going to start to see these energies and these issues at play. Well, let me tell you, there's a whole lot more than that goes into it too. Because there's not just life lessons, but there's something I call life threads. And these are themes, I guess you would call it, for lack of a better term, that you play out across various lifetimes that may run from one life to another. And you may find yourself on different sides of that issue on different lifetimes. That you may find yourself being the oppressed in one life and the oppressor in another, or a bystander in a third, or somebody who suffers collateral damage, or all the other things that could be involved in a situation. Just had one of those computer hang-ups there. I don't know if everything I was saying came out clearly, but I'll continue on in the hope that it did, because I'm not real good at remembering what I say, and once it comes out, I have to go back and listen to it to see if I can refresh my recollection and get back on track. But I know I was talking about life threads. Now, those of you who believe in reincarnation are probably the ones who are going to be most amenable to this kind of a discussion, which is that you have had other lifetimes and you've had other issues in those lifetimes that are bleeding over into this one. Well, if you've ever gone through a past life regression, or talked to a channel, or talked to a psychic or someone else who starts talking to you about other lifetimes, what did you learn about those lives? What happened there that is now coming back to your attention in this life? Because if you're learning about it now, then the process of learning about it is somehow important to this life and the experiences that you're having. Probably for the fact that you're still meeting the energies in the same way that you met them in that life, and you got to change if you're going to have a chance to move through it and see something different. Again, the process of evolution it can be slow, it can be rapid, but it is always about change. Change that you create and experience within yourself in relationship to the world around you. So then we look at your life, and you're starting to look at those past lives, and you say, well, gosh, what did I learn about past lives? Now, if you went back to, or have listened to my first podcast where I was talking about my story, you would know that I have had a number of past lives, or at least I've been led to believe that I've had a number of past lives, both from memories that have come back to me and things other people and other channels have told me. So much so that it's kind of hard to ignore it, particularly when they don't have any idea what you know or what you don't know, and they just start telling you stuff. And then it all kind of fits into a grander picture of yourself that stretches across many lives. The one in particular that I was talking about was my life as a spiritual teacher in various aspects of trying to spread a message of light and love to a world, sort of like I'm doing today. People don't want to hear it. They just give it lip service. And then they go back to do what they have. Themes. And I won't get into the lifetimes. They're not important. They may have been some of those at the time, but at least the idea of them was supposed to be. But the common thread from those themes is what you look for to say, okay, what is going on here that is causing it to go from life to life to life? Well, as it turns out from my standpoint, that I'm to the world to understand the relationship between linear reality and nonlinear reality, or between your inner world and your outer world, is the substance by which wisdom is created. It brings intelligence. It brings the building blocks of life with which we create and manipulate matter and create through a process that we like to think of as manifestation. We think I'm going to jump way aside here. Manifestation is, I'm starting to have different ideas on it. We're taught that it's a cause and effect thing. But actually it's not a cause and effect. It's an intention and a creation of a future experience. And then, based upon that future experience that is intended by our souls to be created, our lives are then reshaped, and we are led to the actions and experiences necessary to get us there. Sort of backwards, I guess, to the way we normally see it. So I'm beginning, as I'm studying more and working more with time, I'm beginning to realize that time is the reality, and that the three-dimensional world of the now that we live in is really just a very fleeting experience to present for us to better know ourselves and gather the experiences that we need as we are working toward that experience that we have of the future. Anyway, that's a perspective that I am exploring right now that seems to fit into a lot of different systems. It is the foundation behind manifestation, which is to see and create what you want for the future. See the future that you want and know that it's there. Well, the intention or the process behind it is to understand that if you see it, if you envision it, if you believe it, it's already there. Now you just have to find it. You have to figure out a way to weave through your life and all the obstacles in it that are going to get you there to whatever it is that you want to create. And so then you have to go through that process of doing it and living it day by day until it happens. Well, anyway, these life threads are things that you may discover too, particularly if you know of any past lives of yourself. And sometimes life threads are issues or or themes that run from multiple lives. Sometimes they end within a lifetime, and sometimes they will end not at all. They'll just keep continuing on and on and on while you continue to reincarnate here on your way back to the oneness that you came from. So you're going to be looking for life threads. Then I want you to look at your fears and your desires, because they're also going to tell you what your life is all about. But besides the fear and desire, I want you to look at the gap between the life that you've got and the one that you think that you want, the one that is causing you to be discontent and dissatisfied with your status quo. This is important right now with what's going on in our world right now, this discontent with the status quo. And we're going to talk a lot more about dealing with that discontent in future episodes. But life has a way of making you face the things that you don't want to see. If there's a fear in something, it is the energy that is going to be creating the situations that are going to bring about so that you can see that fear. And then they're going to come in and make you feel it and tweak it and look at why you have it. And then the question is, what do you do with it? Do you push it away? Do you run away from it? Do you fight it? Do you embrace it? Do you go into it and immerse in its energy? Do you take the energy and try to use it to power your intention to address the gap that we talked about? These are and the same thing happens with desire. Desire is like a carrot that's used to dangle in front of you to lead you to the experiences that you need, sort of to manifest that future that is set up for you that you're just trying to work your way toward. And these desires, sometimes they come as a result of the situations you're in. That's thus the gap that we talked about. And sometimes they are coming about as a result of forces you don't even understand, that they just seem to be embedded in you and you don't know how they got there or why. But they have a long history of influence over the events of your life, such as experiences that I've had where I have in my past, I have not taken well to people that tell me what to do. I am very big on free will. Free will has been the issue that has guided my life. It has been the issue that has guided much of my incarnation through many other lives. So it would be one of those life threads. But free will, as I see it, is the prime directive of creation. It's the first principle of creation, that before everything else was created, there was free will. And there was separation, and in order for God to give his aspects the ability to make its own choices and live and experience and to set course, that free will was endowed just as a means of navigating to what we need as opposed to what somebody else wants us to have. Of course, love and light are running close second and third behind it, because love is the energy that allows you to moderate. Love is the energy that allows you to have a choice of how you're going to meet a situation and who it's going to serve. For instance, in this moment, who are you serving? Are you serving yourself? Are you serving others? Are you serving God? And if so, how? And when you begin to get an awareness of your life and put your life in perspective, you can begin to answer that question. Has your life been about serving you? Maybe it's been about the process of the changes that you've had to undergo in order to go from serving yourself to serving others. The answers could be many. The lessons typically are within a relatively limited range, but they differ based upon where each of us are at any particular moment in time, so what we get from them may be different. In any event, You see that there's a whole lot of stuff involved in trying to understand your life. It's trying to paint a picture of all these different attributes that you have that's made you you. And then from those to infer, well, what in the world am I doing here? Remember, there is only now. There is no future. There is no past. There's just a memory of what you think the past was, of what you experienced before, or what you think you experienced. Again, twisted and shaped by your mind into what it needs to be for the experiences that you're having right now. But if you saw it a different way, would it still be the same experience? Or would it switch into something else? I cannot emphasize to you enough that as you are looking at yourself, that you keep in mind one principle. And that is, life is about the experience. It's all about the experience. It's the experience that allows you to evolve. It is the experience that brings you choice. It is the experience that expands your consciousness so you can have those choices, and so that you can decide how to apply the light and use your love, both to serve you as well as to serve others and to serve God. These are not things that anybody can tell you how to do. You have to learn that for yourself. And it's so important that you begin to learn what you're about, what you are about, because you're going to be tested in learning and being able to apply that and show it to others in this time of changes that's happening in our world. You see what's going on. You know Armageddon's coming. You can feel it in your bones. Well, what's it got to do with you? What are the experiences that it's bringing, offering you? How are they changing you or making you shift how you see and interact with others? And most importantly, how do they fit into what your life is all about from the inferences that you've made from all the things that we've talked about? You have so much going on beneath your awareness that can influence how you go about what you're doing and how you live your life. You have so much to offer the world. You're connecting to the light and you're beginning to allow it to express itself through you. This is the process of moderating the ego and integrating the ego with the soul that you have started. Now, you should probably have a long way to go yet with that. But nevertheless, everything that's been happening is leading you toward that process, toward being able to do that. But that means loosening the hold of the beliefs that you have and shifting perspective so that you can see things another way. If you can't see things another way, you can't change. And if you can't change, what is the moment going to do but bring you situations that you're just going to keep meeting the same old ways and getting the same old results in the future? And then those energies are just going to keep coming back around in karmic wave after karmic wave after karmic wave until you do. I hope you can put those into context now, that you can begin to see them for what they are, that they are tests and lessons, that they are catalysts for you to evolve toward the light, to condition your energy, to make you draw you closer to ascension, to draw you closer toward making your way back to God. Will you be able to get there with whatever's happening at this moment? I don't know. I don't know where you are on your journey or what you need. But maybe you do. Or at least you do what you can from inferring what this life is about. Can know what to get from this moment so that you have a better chance in the next moment to meet those energies in a different way. However you do it is up to you. Just do it. See yourself as being here for a reason, for a purpose, to evolve your way back to oneness. It's kind of a paradox that we separate from all that is in order to experience ourselves as apart and alone and unconnected from Source. Yet, from within that aloneness, we have to find our way back. This is what your life is trying to do, to help you find your way back to God. Know how your life is fitting into that process. Know how the experiences are working upon you or causing you to change. See them for yourself. Even if they don't happen consciously, at least be aware that they are happening. Be nimble of mind. But be clear on your intent. Is your intention strictly to deal with the troubles of life, or to try to make life a little bit better while you're here? Or is your intention to do the best you can in meeting those, but doing so in a way that's going to allow you to also have a chance to make your way home? I cannot encourage you more to look at yourself and to know yourself. As Socrates said, or maybe it was Aristotle, knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. And this is what I give to you, the ability to know yourself and who you are and what you're about, free of all the flowery talks and all the things that you've been taught over the years, just to know it and experience yourself the way that you have created yourself for this moment. For that's all you have is this moment. So you've got to make the most of what you have, because you don't know if you're going to get another one. So you better use it. And what I want you to do is to put it into context so that you understand how it contributes to your journey home, as well as how it's going to contribute to the unfolding evolutionary reality that is taking place for all of humanity in this world. We won't get into that today, but that gets into the issues of contribution and callings. You know, I've talked a lot about that before. And if you're struggling to breathe life into your visions and inspirations, or you can't get clear on your callings or make it manifest in your world, and you need help, that's what I'm here for. I want you to do your part, because where we go one, we go all. I love you so very much, and I want you to make your journey with peace and love in your heart and light, to expand the possibilities of how you meet the moment. You are so much more than you know. And one day, you're going to discover it. God bless you indeed. I'm John. Go with love. You have been listening to the Red Pill Chronicles, where we help awakening souls move in a better way through a blue pill world. For more information, visit us at peaceoptions.com to explore how you can find your peace through knowing yourself and following your inner voice. Or at missionlaunch.com, where we offer coaching and consulting to help you make the difference in your world.